Brant County Council 2024. Attendance has been taken, noting that everyone is here and Councillor Miller is online. I'm sorry, and Councillor Bell is not here. Which takes us to number 2 on the agenda, which is the land acknowledgement, and I believe Councillor Coleman's going to do that for us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather, we acknowledge that we meet on the lands and the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, 6 nations of the Grand River, and the traditional territory of the Anarak. We remind ourselves that the County of Brant is situated on lands that are full of rich indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We recognize the significance of their contribution to the past, present, and the future of this land. As a county, we have shared responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we live and work, and committed to the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. We commit to continue learning, reflecting on our past, and working in allyship.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Takes us to number 3 on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda, noting that we have an addendum, which is 10.2, and I believe Alicia has something.
Thank you, through your worship, to council. Just a note to council, bylaw number 45-24 has been pulled at the last minute. You'll note there was a draft agreement attached to the bylaw. It has not been formalized, and so we're just going to pull that, get the formalized agreement, and pass it in June. And secondly, I just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out. You might have noticed bylaw 40-24 is appointing Nancy Davis as the Freedom of Information Coordinator. So she has moved on. She is now the Manager of Records, and so I just wanted to say, thank you to Nancy for all of her many hours in this horseshoe, and she'll be very much missed here, but she's still very much part of the Clerk's Department.
Thank you for that. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Does anyone have one? No. Okay. Nothing else for the agenda, nothing to be added, nothing to be taken away. All those in favor of the agenda? Noting the addendum. All those opposed? Carried. Takes us to number 5, which is the delegations. 5.1, we have a presentation. I'm going to ask Leslie Jackson to come up and explain what it's all about.
Good evening, Mayor Bailey and members of council. Thank you. In support of the county's commitment to fostering an inclusive, equitable, and welcoming community for everyone, it is my honor to present the Inclusion Charter for the County of Brant. The Inclusion Charter embodies a spirit of unity and progress. At the heart of the Inclusion Charter is a pledge to uphold and support federal and provincial legislation advocating for human rights and accessibility. The Inclusion Charter emphasizes the importance of actively removing barriers and tailoring support to meet diverse needs. It underscores our commitment to respecting all voices, ensuring that every member of the community feels heard and is valued. By signing the Inclusion Charter, the county is demonstrating its ongoing pledge to promote inclusive practices in all aspects of public life, enhancing community cohesion and encouraging civic participation. It sets a positive example for local businesses, organizations, and residents, creating a ripple effect of inclusion. This is a very special week in the county, as the adoption of the Inclusion Charter this evening coincides with National Accessibility Week, Easter Seals Red Shirt Day, and the launch of the county's public engagement for our multi-year accessibility plan, each highlighting the importance of removing physical, attitudinal, and systemic barriers to accessibility and inclusion in our schools, workplaces, and communities. My thanks to Mayor Bailey, County of Brant Council, our senior management team, CAO Newton, and the county's accessibility and inclusion team, Sheena Yerrick-Snyder and Brian Grice, for facilitating the county's first Inclusion Charter. Mayor Bailey, if you would do the honors.
Thank you. I'm very happy to do this. I'm very proud to do this. And we're going to sign it, and it will be displayed in in public, hopefully for a very long time. In the spirit of unity and progress, the County of Brant's Inclusion Charter confirms the county's commitment to fostering a community that is equitable, diverse, and inclusive to those who work, live, and play here. By uniting efforts with various organizations and individuals, we embrace our shared vision of making the County of Brant a place where diversity is not only celebrated, but is seen as a cornerstone to our collection of strength, innovations, and cultural prosperity. This charter is a pledge to uphold and support the current federal and provincial legislation that advocates for human rights and accessibility. We acknowledge that true inclusion means more than just offering the same opportunities to all. It involves actively removing barriers and tailoring supports to meet diverse needs. The County of Brant is committed to respecting all voices, making certain that everyone feels heard, acknowledged, and valued. Today, we are unified in creating public spaces, services, and opportunities that are accessible to everyone. We will foster an environment where all community members, regardless of their backgrounds or their abilities, feel they belong and they can thrive. This commitment is ongoing, aimed not only at improving the community today, but also in laying the foundation for the future that is ever more welcoming, understanding, and respectful for the future generations to come. Okay, the second thing on our agenda is 5.2, which is a delegation of Mr. Stewart and Henry Stolp. I don't see Henry here, but I see Mr. Stewart.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me this evening for the delegation, Mr. Mayor, members of council. And thanks, obviously, for the opportunity to speak regarding the clock installation at Main Street, St. George. Joining me in the audience, actually, Henry couldn't make it tonight. Brad Wilson, one of my business partners, is here. And we've been working together on behalf of Pinevest on this opportunity over the last few months. A few years ago, as many of you know and see every day, a Verdun clock was installed in downtown Paris. Our office is right across from that, and it's become quite the attraction. We see people taking photos all the time, and it's a great centerpiece for the downtown. With Brad and I living in St. George, we thought it'd be a great idea to explore the opportunity of one being at this location. And especially with the wonderful work that's happened on that corner and with the parking lot in that area. So following meetings and conversations with John Emerson, which many of you may know was a Paris resident who helped spearhead the clock downtown, we reached out to the Verdun clock suppliers, had those discussions, understanding what the clock was, the timelines, as well as the installation requirements, and started working on some fundraising as well on the opportunity. And as of now, it's ourselves as Pinevest, Ed Spielzek from Brandstar, and Brad and I recently had a presentation to the St. George Lions Club as well about the opportunity. So with that, we've been also working with Megan Hunter, manager of Parks and Forestry. We know this location is being programmed now. We didn't want to have to come in later and mess anything up. So we wanted to make sure that this location was the right one, as well as appropriate connections to this location would be there for a clock. So Pinevest Homes would be coordinating all the fundraising efforts between ourselves and be the backstop for the clock, along with Mr. Spielzek. And the county would essentially have the contract with the supplier, and we would essentially be providing our fundraising efforts to the county overall. So there's absolutely no cost to the county for the clock, and we'll be coordinating the installation with some local trades and making sure we time it appropriately with county staff. So again, it's similar to the Paris clock. It would just be the ongoing maintenance moving forward of this clock in the future for the county. And our goal, I was thinking I'd come next month, but these are quite popular, and we want to make sure we can get it in for Apple Harvest Festival. So want to get it ordered. I think September 15th is hopefully the target date. Apple Fest is the 21st and the 22nd. It'd be a great addition there. So again, a bit of a passion project. We're excited about it, and hopefully you'll see the value. And again, happy to answer any questions you may have on the clock.
Thank you. Are there any questions to Mr. Stewart? Well, Councilor McAlpine?
It's not really a question, but just a big thanks for stepping up and doing this for the community. I think it's something that will be really appreciated for many years to come. So just want to say that in public.
Yeah. And also I'd like to say the timing is really quite wonderful, because before I was the mayor, when I was on the downtown committee, we all got together and we had a drawing drawn up as to what we wanted to see on that corner without the parking lot, just the little piece of corner that we had at the end of where the sign used to be, the St. George sign used to be. And we had a drawing done, and that was when the players were Jack Hacking and Gene and all the people that are quite elderly right now, and they're still with us. And we had a rendering done of what we wanted that corner to look like, not exactly where your clock's going to be, but closer to the driveway, the original old driveway, and it had a clock, and we couldn't raise the money, and so it sort of died. But the timing for it for this year, for you to do this, when all the players that wanted it back then and worked so hard back then are still here, I think your timing is wonderful, and I think it's very, very nice of you to do this. Thank you. Appreciate it. What does council want to do with delegation? Councilor Pierce?
Move to receive and proceed with thanks.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Coleman. All those in favor? Thank you very much. 5.3, delegation, is for the renaming of a couple of streets in Paris. Actually, one street and one lane. If you could just state your name, please, and your address for the clerk.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jenny Moore, and this is Dale Kitchen. And thank you, Mayor Bailey, for allowing us to present this proposal tonight to council. This began last November after Remembrance Day, when I approached one of our longtime veterans and longtime Paris residents, Henry Foster, and talked about possibly naming a street after him. Back then, that message was sent to council, and it was approved that that would happen at some point unanimously by this group. I don't know if any of you remember that, but that word did get back to me. Since then, Steve Howes has managed to find the perfect laneway, which is West River Lane, which is just down Broadway and travels down to West River. You have the picture for that, Alicia? Will that come up too? So that's the Broadway end. Oh, that one. That's the lane itself. And then it goes, yes, it goes down to West River. The good thing about this lane is it has no houses facing the actual lane. So there would be no reason for anybody to have their address changed. So it's a perfect sort of situation for naming it after anyone. We sort of thought about it as we did name Lisa's Way, which we're all familiar with, which is right outside the door. And Keaton Lane also is just a little bit up the road here. And also Mick Jones Way, which is just off of William Street. So we thought it was an appropriate place to begin. The important thing here is Henry Foster is an elderly man. Henry's in his 100th year. He's a naval veteran. He started serving when he was not even 18 years old with the Navy as a gunner on a DEMS, defensively equipped merchant ship during the war. He moved here in 1963 and has spent the rest of his life here. So Dale and I think it's very appropriate and important that this happens. We know that many streets in this town are named after veterans. I drive around town and I look, I see names I recognize. The thing about this is we really wanted to happen while Henry's still alive, and he is nearly 100. And there's really no barricades in having this done as soon as possible. And he even said to us, maybe that can happen before I'm gone. So we hope it can. Thank you. Anything, Dale?
No, I'd just like to add that Henry is a longtime veteran. Whether he was born in Paris or not, he did serve in the Royal Navy. And as a veteran and living in Paris here, he deserves, I think, he deserves to have a street named after him, as many others do also and have been. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Are there any questions of presenters? I think what you're asking is quite nice and obviously very reasonable. And because of the time restrictions, there is a process through staff that we're going to, I think, skip over this time. And I'm looking for a motion from council to proceed. Councilor Howes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I did want to just make a quick comment that maybe 3 weeks ago, I saw Henry out for a walk.
Yes.
And which is so wonderful. I just appreciate that you have initiated this the way you have. In keeping with the procedure that we did with Keaton Lane and William Kipp Lane to expedite quickly, I move that council support this delegation and request staff to initiate any notification or bylaw amendment process to accomplish this quickly.
Thank you.
Seeking a seconder, Councilor Oakley. Any other comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? Consider it done.
Thank you so much.
Done as soon as possible. And as soon as we have something that we can actually hold, we'll contact you and make the presentation.
Appreciate it muchly. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Henry will also.
You will.
5.4 on the agenda is the delegation that was going to be Mr. Stern in regards to the St. George residence for the tower. Now he's not able to be here tonight. Does anyone want to speak in his place? No. There are members here from his group, but we're going to leave it then for another time. Okay, thank you. So 5.4 then has been pulled. And we're going to go to 5.5, which is Judy Ackery. And I don't see Judy here. See you, Councillor Wheat. I don't see Judy Ackery. Is anyone here to speak on behalf of Judy? Seeing none, apparently 5.5 is a no-show too. which is going to take us to 5.6 on the agenda, which is Donna and Scott Dill. Oh boy, we're striking out. Okay, we're not gonna worry about 5.6. We could be home soon. 5.7 on the agenda is a delegation to support and endorse an indoor-outdoor market. Who's that? Okay, come on now. Usually we give you 10 minutes. You can have 12 minutes tonight. If you can just give us your name and your address, please, for the clerk.
Hi, I'm Michelle Phipps, and I live at 7 Larkspur Lane in Paris, Ontario. I've lived in Paris all my life. I like to support wherever I can, and as of right now, I'm supporting the indoor-outdoor market at the Legion, and we have 40 vendors that come, and we support their businesses. We have a barbecue, and we have some music that we would like to talk about. So the music is, I was told that I couldn't have it because of the bylaw. I'm just asking if that could be changed as it's at 11 a.m. till 4 p.m., so it's during the day. It's not a party going on. It's very calm. It's just background, so we're able to still talk to the customers. We bring in a lot of people to this to help out the Legion, so that there's a lot of people that came last year that didn't even know that we had a Legion in Paris. Also, we would like to get new members for the Legion, and we would also like to get volunteers for the Legion, so this way brings it in and sees what kind of nice things that we can do for the town of Paris. So we're hoping that we can get this bylaw passed for that day so that I can have some music.
Roy Haggard, and I'm here on behalf of Branch 29 Legion to support the application. And I think last year we had somewhere around 700 to 800, 900 people, and we're looking for a better turnout this year. So the Legion is very appreciative of people stepping forward to co-program for the Legion. As you know, Legions are getting more difficult to operate with volunteers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, in the last couple of days, and I need to bring this up and I'll preface it. Unfortunately, in the last couple of days, the extended patio permit has been tied to the noise bylaw regulations. It's not new, it's just, I guess, we were doing it and we weren't having any problems, and all of a sudden we have a couple of issues that bylaw was forced to act on. In the past, many residents in the area have attended the Saturday barbecues to enjoy a meal, perhaps a pop, perhaps a pint, and listen to some great music. Single guitar player singing a few songs from 1 to 4. We anticipate the no outside music challenge we face, read the noise bylaw, will have an effect on our attendance and therefore our revenue. In turn, this will influence how we continue with donations and support to various organizations, groups, and of course our volunteers. Over the year and years, annually, we donate thousands of dollars to veterans organizations here in Ontario. We will have to evaluate what options there may be to move forward. I've talked with Amanda, and she'll be very nice about the whole thing. Obviously, we're not really happy about this, but we need to respect the bylaw and see what we can do, and that's what we're asking tonight, for you to support the motion for June 1st. I was reminded late today, the lady sitting back there from Air News sent out a notice that June 19th, our annual Paris Air Band, which was to be on the patio. This is a free concert that the Paris Air Band puts on, and attended by hundreds of local residents, both here in Paris and in and around the county. We're not sure now what to do. The band is booked. We're proceeding as per we have in the past years. I don't know, I think it's been going 8, 10 years. I'm not sure. Anyway, my thought was to put before you, and I did not have a chance to talk to Amanda, and I'm not trying to bypass you, Amanda, but time is of the essence. Perhaps council would consider making an amendment to tonight's motion to approve the first and amend it to add on June 19th for the Paris Air Band concert, which is well attended. And then we can go forward from there. But this one, we have to book the Air Paris Band a long time in advance, obviously. So if you'd consider that, I would appreciate it. And we will deal with the outcome tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, so council, the request is for 2 dates, the 1st and the 19th. Councillor Pierce?
Yeah, quick question, Mr. Mayor, through you to Roy. So on the 19th, is it through the day as well?
It's, I believe, 7:30 to approximately 9 o'clock. What time? Speak up. Oh, it's a 1 hour concert. So it's 7:30 to 8:30.
Perfect. I'm good with that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor House, do you have something prepared for bylaw?
I do. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McAlpine that in accordance with Schedule D, Section 4 of the noise bylaw, that council grant written permission to the Paris Legion to hold 2 special events, being the indoor-outdoor market on June 1st and the Paris Air Band on June 19th, 2024, so that they can have music outside despite the prohibition of outdoor music per Schedule D, Section 6A.
Are there any questions? I like the word prohibition. Councillor Oakley.
Through you to staff or perhaps the mover, should we perhaps not as attached to this, but look into what we can do in regards to similar community institutions like the Legion, where they're within a residential zone area, but obviously their function is enhanced by having outdoor music, and looking into some more permanent solutions for exemptions.
Allison?
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. Typically, if a group wants to hold an event like this, they can apply for an exemption to the bylaw and have a permit for that. Understanding that this delegation didn't understand that that was the case in this instance, but that does exist.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? We have it on the floor. We have a seconder. All those in favor? There you go. Opposed and carried. And thank you, Roy, for everything you're doing for the Legion. You've done a lot of work this year and last year. The place looks great. It's buzzing again. It has life, and it's all because of a few of you. So thank you for what you're doing.
And just to bring you up to date, thank you for the grant that you put through this year for us on a special request. We completed the steeple. It's done. That was $8,400. And we have approximately the same amount left over. And we're moving forward, and it has been contracted for to do the flat roof, which you contributed to. That is approximately $24,000 for the flat roof. So your money is going to be well spent on those 2 projects.
Yeah, just to let council know, I don't know if you know or not, but they asked for money from the county. We gave it to them. They didn't need all the money they thought they needed, and they contacted us to tell us that, and they've used it for something else. So they were very responsible in the money we gave them, and they're doing good work. And they've got a very hardworking team down there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And please come to the Legion and have a drink and a burger and come and support. Thank you.
Thank you. I think what we'll do now is, because we had so many people that didn't show up, I see that Judy is here now She missed her turn, but it's not because she's really late. It's because a lot of people ducked out before you. So this would have been about the time you were going to speak. Do you want to still come up and speak to council? You're both past due now, so it's a courtesy that I'm asking you if you want to speak. And maybe when you're speaking, they'll come in. Oh, well, then they won't be speaking. Judy, if you can just give us your name and your address for the record.
River Street South.
You've got 10 minutes, Judy.
I don't know if there's a green light on.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Well, I'm here again. It's been a year that I have been fighting this issue about the proposed crosswalk that's going in front of our driveways, between our two driveways. I see it as a hazard. I see it also as being a noise pollution concern. I don't appreciate that the town thinks it's okay that we should be expected to listen to a chirp 24/7 in our front yard. I don't expect that it's polite and fair for my guests that come in for bed and breakfast. We are a number 10 out of 10 with Booking.com and Airbnb. Now I have to worry that they will be putting up with a chirp in our front yard. I have to tell you that the last couple of months, I have been paying attention to the number of people that are on our street and crossing. There are no cars at the time that this supposed protection for pedestrians is about to happen. Today, I watched one woman cross the street, no cars on the road. I watched a young man cross the street, no cars on the road. This morning at 9 o'clock, the only car I saw on the road was my husband leaving for work and the garbage truck that came up on the other side of the street going down Burwell. So I have to ask, what is the purpose of this crosswalk? If it is for young children and the safety of the children, where is the school they're supposed to be going to? I have not seen any schools lately that are in any way connected to the route that they are going to be taking past our house. I am not happy with the fact that the other neighbors are expecting me to carry this ball. I am one soldier, there is an army, they did not show. So where are these kids coming from? Halloween, we get no kids. There are no kids. So I can also say that if you go down Willow and Dundas, the merge there is no safety crossing there for people crossing the road there. I can also tell you that I have gone 4 times in the last 2 months down Grand River Street North, right across that gay crosswalk. We all know where it is. There are skid marks on it. And I can tell you firsthand that I have been stopped by somebody in a big truck doing a U-turn in front of me. There are 4 signs on that street, no U-turns. People don't see signs. People don't pay attention. Why are you putting a crosswalk in front of our house when those same people are not going to pay attention, don't care, and we have to listen to Terps?
Okay. I have a couple of questions. One is, there must have been a survey taken of the traffic in front of our home, and why did we not get a copy of that? There's no traffic. We've been living there since 2007. The traffic has not increased at all. Where it has increased is on Burwell, the other side of the church, where people come up the hill and turn right and go on the opposite side of the church, not in front of our house. So I don't understand where the concern is for the amount of traffic or even the amount of pedestrians in front of our home, because they're not there. I need to see some proof that there's a concern. Some kind of proof saying that, yes, there's an increased amount of traffic, there's an increased amount of people crossing the street at that point, because we don't see it. We live there, we don't see it.
And we hear everything that goes on that street. Our house is not deafening. There is not soundproofing in our walls. At night, we hear everything. We hear the coyotes, we hear the birds, we hear the ducks, we hear the people talking. We hear their radios, we hear everything. So if you think we're not going to hear that twerp of a crosswalk, you're all mistaken. How many of you can raise your hand and say that you live in front of a crosswalk with a chirping crosswalk? None of you. You have no idea. You have no idea what we're about to face as you put this in front of our house. Last summer, last November, I caught on video, on my surveillance video, a man walk across the street, pick up our furniture, our antique furniture, and carry it across the street. There was nobody to see him. There was nobody to run over him with a car. There was no reason for this man to use a crosswalk. He picked up our furniture and boldly walked across with our furniture. Nobody could stop him. Nobody cared. This is the kind of neighborhood we live in. There's nobody that saw him.
I'd like to see some kind of proof that there is a concern and there's a reason for this crosswalk.
All right, that's a question. First of all, that's a question to staff, and you'll have an opportunity in a minute to ask about that. Does council have any questions to the delegation? Councillor House?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the delegation, just you have some questions, and I understand them. When you received the notification about the crosswalk,
very late.
Last week. Thursday, and I knew about it because there was a fellow that came in his safety jacket last year, and he was doing some survey work, and I went out and I said, "Excuse me, sir, what are you doing?" "We're measuring up for the new crosswalk." I said, "Crosswalk for what?" "For the pedestrians." And I'm looking up down the street, I said, "What pedestrians?" There was nobody on the street. What pedestrians? Nobody has ever answered that question in the last year. Nobody. I had a conversation with the mayor. No questions answered. I put in calls to 2 councilors. No phone back. Is this the kind of person we're voting for?
Okay, Judy, now you know what? Now you're lying. Yes, you are. We had to remove you from our building here when you came in and caused such a ruckus that we had to ask you to leave. You're foul and you're rude and you're crude, and we don't like you coming into the office when you need a nap. And tonight you're starting to do it again. You're starting to get personal and you're starting to throw stones. I don't know whether you've noticed, Judy, but there's development happening all around you. There's going to be some sort of something happening at the Bucket Center, whether it's a library, whether it's a reception hall, whatever it decides to become. It's going to create people, lots of people, and they're going to be coming by the church, which is by your house. So the pedestrians that we're putting the crosswalk up for now don't have to be up here now. They're coming. The change is coming. The town is growing. You know that. You said you've been here since the early 2000s, so you do know that you've watched it all. You've witnessed it all. And we don't just pick a place to put a crosswalk nilly-willy. There's a report, and you will see it. You're entitled to see it. But you don't come in here screaming and saying that I didn't give you any attention and your counselors didn't listen to you, because that's nonsense. And I'm tired of your nonsense. From now on, send your husband. He knows how to behave.
Excuse me, but we did have a conversation, and we had it on the phone, and it was a calm conversation, and I was concerned, and I asked for proof. And there is no action happening at the town hall right now, and I asked about it. And if this crosswalk is going in because of that, why is it going in now when you're still 3 years away for completion? You did tell me that there is tenders going out. There is no action on that building, on that construction. And if this is what it's all about, the proposal of what's to come, why can't you do that when it comes? You know we are trying to get our house sold so we can move because we don't like what's happening in our neighborhood. Please give us the benefit of the doubt, give us the time, and we will leave quietly.
Well, this isn't Dodge, Judy. We don't run people out of town.
Well,
and whether you leave or whether you stay is not the issue of this crosswalk. It's your attitude and your fact gathering, which is very It's very disturbing what you think you can get away with.
No, that's not true. And you're passing judgment on me right now.
We had to throw you out.
No, you didn't.
Absolutely.
You weren't there.
I was in my office. I heard it. Okay, so any other questions to the delegation? Seeing none, how do you want to handle the delegation? Looking for a motion, Councillor Oakley.
To receive this information.
Seeking a seconder. Councillor McAlpine, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All I can suggest, Judy, is next time you want to talk about it, make an appointment, come in and see me, and we'll talk more about it, but we can't do it the way you've been doing it. It's not right. No one else does it but you. Thank you.
I have tried. I have tried.
You're finished. Sit down. Thank you.
One last question.
You'll be getting a report from staff. Thank you. Takes us to number 6 on the agenda, which is the County Council minutes from April the 30th and the 14th of May. Councillor Chambers, you have those.
It's moved by myself and seconded by Councilor McAlpine that the minutes April 30th and May 14th be approved.
Are there any questions from those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes. Consent items. There aren't any. Takes us to number 8.2 on the agenda, which is the consent items we received. They're listed there from 8.2 to 8.27. Does anybody want anything separated? Councillor Chambers.
8.2.7.
Any others? Councillor Pierce?
8.2.2.
Yep. Any others? We'll call the vote on 8.2.1, 3, 4. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Howes, you have to put it on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chambers that items 8.2.1 to 8.2.7, with the exception of 8.2.2 and 8.2.7, be received as information.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. We'll go back and we'll speak to 8.2.2.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I guess it's on page, where am I at here? Bear with me. 59 of our package. When it talks about childcare spaces, it's section 9.1.1 of the report. In there, it's got community-based childcare spaces, and it's as of the end of year, December 31st, 2023. I'm just wondering, is there anything updated in the last 6 months as to more spaces available? Because as we know, there's there's a lot of people looking for this, and I'm curious if there's any more spaces available. That's my first question.
Yeah. Allison?
Thank you. Through your worship, staff member who deals with childcare is not in attendance tonight, but I can certainly get that answer for you.
Please, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you. And then a little further on in the report, on page, bear with me here. It's on page 66 of the report when it speaks of expanding the school-based childcare. What do we got? There's 6 of them listed there. I only see one of those options being in the county. I'm curious, again, is there any more thought or options that are going to be available within the county?
Thank you. Through your worship, I can certainly get that answer to you.
That one as well. Okay, perfect. That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the vote.
Mr. Mayor, if the resolution that is being circulated is self-explanatory, we at Long Point have endorsed a similar recommendation, and many of the conservation authorities and source water protection authorities have done the same, as well as many other municipalities, essentially asking the province to reconsider the recommendation for water testing in rural areas at no charge. Currently, they're suggesting that that be phased out, and I think it's important in the rural communities that program be still offered as it is and has been for many, many years. So I would like to move a motion in support of the issue catered to Brant County rather than endorse this one, make one for ourselves.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Oakley that the Joint City-County Shared Services Committee report of April 25th, 2024 be approved.
Councilor Miller, you didn't vote either way, are you?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Ray, you have to turn on your mic when you ask for those in support, those against, because I don't know unless you turn on your mic.
I'm sorry, we're on 9.1 and the report, we called the vote, and how did you vote?
I voted against, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that makes it unanimous. Councilor Chambers?
And this may take some of the mystery of which has happened. Mr. Mayor, I have a motion moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Coleman, whereas the Joint City-County Shared Services Committee was reestablished at the council meeting of September 26, 2023, with the county expressing its interest in exploring shared interests and initiatives with the city of Brantford, and whereas the committee has met 2 times and has made significant progress in identifying some shared initiatives, and whereas the shared services initiatives included within the committee's mandate are moving forward at the staff level, be it resolved that the County of Brant Council advised the City of Brantford Council that it is now withdrawing its participation from the Joint City-County Shared Services Committee, but will continue to explore shared initiatives at the staff level, and that staff be directed to bring forward any future joint service initiatives to County Council on a case-by-case basis.
Everyone's clear? It's on the floor. It's been seconded. Councilor Miller, you can hear me? Yeah. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is 9.3, which is the Policy Development Committee, and that's Councilor Coleman.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to pass or move 9.2.
I'm sorry?
I was going to move 9.2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Judy's got me all razzle-dazzled here. 9.2 is the Paramedics Committee.
Okay, so moved by myself, second by Councilor Pierce, that the Paramedic Services Committee report of May 7th, 2024 be approved.
Thank you. Are there any questions to Councilor Miller on the paramedics report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Takes us to 9.3, Policy Development Committee report. And that's Councilor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Oakley, that the Policy Development Committee report of May 7th, 2024 be approved, noting there's 7 recommendations.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councilor Coleman on his report? Councilor Miller.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like item 2 pulled. And if we could, and I don't know how we do this because they're all lumped together, but I only need that first report, 0208-24 pulled, and that's the Community Partnership Policy.
Okay. What's the quickest way to get that? Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to vote on everything but number 2, and then we're going to come back and we're going to find out what Councillor Miller wants to do with number 2, and we'll separate it and we'll talk about it. So we're voting on everything but number 2. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. And now we're going to, are you going to have that for Councillor Miller later? Okay, Councillor Miller?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the community partnership policy, I'm going to ask that that be tabled. And if I get a seconder, we'll go into why that is. But there's been a flurry of phone calls and emails about that, so that's why I'm bringing forward that motion.
Okay, you have a seconder and Councillor Garneau. Do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So just bear with me. I'm going back and forth on my screen here, but talking to the Burford Optimist Club, the Scotland Optimist Club, they're very concerned about this policy. And the reason is there wasn't a lot of engagement for a lot of groups, and it even said that in the report that they had an engagement process, but a lot of the service clubs weren't involved, didn't get engaged, and then when the actual report, the policy come forward, the draft report, nobody ever seen it afterwards. After that short engagement period, that was it. Now, just keep in mind that the purpose of the policy, and I understand this, it's to help strengthen community groups. And I think we all agree that's a noble cause. However, if you read the report too, they say in there that a few community groups / organizations may be impacted as some longstanding and/or grandfathered understandings regarding free access will become aligned with the policy objectives. Well, some of those community groups and organizations that have been impacted, a few of us around this table have heard from regarding this policy. Clearly, there wasn't enough public engagement on this, and if I look at what some of the information sent me, now this is just from the Burford Optimist. So the Burford Optimists, they don't pay for the field at the present moment. Got that. But what they did pay for was they supported youth baseball, so they subsidized the cost so that everyone can afford to play. They provided equipment, they paid for umpire training, and paid registration for those who are financially restricted. And they did this because they could use the dime, the baseball dime. So there was a lot of money that the Optimist Club were spending on baseball, and we've seen the usage for baseball go up because they did those things. Now, if this policy were to be implemented, they would have to pay $631.50 for each team to play. Well, they got 5 teams. That's over $3,000. So Burford Optimist contacted Parish Optimist. Parish Optimist said they weren't involved with the engagement process. Either Scotland Optimist group said the same thing. And I understand, I think, some groups pay for fields, some groups don't. I got that. I was involved with soccer. We did. But at the same time, those groups that are affected, they were doing things like this. They were helping kids that couldn't afford to get in, using that money. So all I'm asking for, Mr. Mayor, is just a table of this motion so we can re-engage with those groups that haven't been either engaged in the first place or B, are going to be very much impacted by it. And if you look at the entire financial picture, I believe it's $61,000 in total that was subsidized for these fields, which in the grand scheme of things, if you look at the arenas, we subsidize those by far. Every arena is subsidized by far more than $61,000. I'm not against hockey or anything like that. I like hockey, but I don't see the fairness in that. Though. But anyway, so again, Mr. Mayor, the reason I brought forward the motions because we heard from a lot of groups in the past couple of days, and they're asking to be allowed to at least give some input on how this is going to impact them and what they might be able to do instead.
Thank you, Councilor Miller. And as I said, you have a secondary, Ms. Gartno, do you want to speak to that too? Or? No, you're okay? Well,
I would echo, yes, Councillor Miller's comments. I wasn't able to connect with staff today about the community safety groups, but I know that there's a similar sentiment there. So perhaps this just needs a little more time to work out some of the kinks.
Yeah. Phil, you want to speak to it?
So through the chair, so we had 3 in-person engagement sessions, and I attended those as well. And I confirmed that both Optimists in Scotland and Burford were invited to the sessions, as well as our Engage brand platform that was also used. So we did get a lot of good feedback from a lot of groups. For example, the Burford Lions, and had some really good feedback. So I think we've gone through a very comprehensive process. In the case of the Scotland Optimist Club, they have a long-standing agreement in place, and the way the policy's been written is that they can choose to stick with their grandfather-in agreement. So, you know, we're basically planning to work out the implementation plan in Q4 of this year. And at that point, we'll be contacting all the existing groups, as we explained to the Scotland Optimists in an in-person meeting with them back last fall. So we actually did meet with them. And as part of those next steps, we'll go through the policy and the application. And then at that point, if Scotland Optimists decides to stick with their grandfathered agreement, that would be their choice. If they decide to work with us on a new community partnership agreement, that would be an option as well. So I think the engagement has been comprehensive. I was there with my staff. I know we reached out to all the existing groups, and I confirmed. So I mean, I think we're at the point now where we can still continue those dialogues, and as we work through the implementation plan, we can pick the best fit for those clubs.
Thank you. After hearing Councillor Miller and knowing that it has a seconder on the floor, if the community is still not comfortable with what we've done, and the motion is just to table it, I would suggest oh, Councillor Miller?
Well, I just want to say, Mr. Mayor, like a lot of times, and we know this with engagements, it comes out, a lot of people are busy, they don't have time, but they look at and they think, okay, it sounds good. It is good. I think at the end of the day, it is good. The purpose is good. They want to strengthen community groups. But I wish staff had taken a draft of it and said, this is going to be the implications for you guys. This is what's going to happen. And that's all I'm asking. I'm asking staff to just go back to these groups and say, this what we're seeing tonight is the proposed policy. We want your feedback. And like I say, for those groups that are already out there, helping out with young kids and doing a lot of good community work, that's very important at this point. So I don't want it. And volunteers are so hard to get anymore. I don't want to take the step and discourage them. And that's why I'm asking to table until we get some more engagement on this policy as it's written, not before the policy is written, on this.
Thanks, Councillor Miller. It sounds very reasonable, and it does have its seconder. Councillor Chambers?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's important that policies like this that have reach into the community, that have the buy-in by the community, and if we have a couple, 2 or 3 or more groups that are a little bit have questions and are a little bit unsettled about the policy as they see it, then I don't think it's a bad idea to just pause and let the community groups that are concerned connect with staff and have their questions answered, and then go from there. So a 1 month hiatus, if you want to call it that, to allow Burford Optimists and Scotland Optimists and whoever else wants to engage further, I can support that.
Councillor Coleman.
Councillor Chambers just took the words out of my mouth. 1 cycle.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, and I think that I think it's reasonable just to table it and talk about it a little bit more. I don't think it's undermining staff either. I appreciate staff's work, and I don't like to do things that staff report as being proper, but I do think that if this many people have come forward this quickly, that we do need to take a pause and rethink it, or at least put it out there one more time. So it's on the floor. It has a seconder. All those in favor of tabling just the one piece, RPT 0208-24. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? Thank you. Now we have to vote on everything but that. So the first one, the third one, and the fourth one. All those in favor? Opposed and carried? Thank you. Any other concerns to Councillor Coleman's report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. That takes us to 9.4, Planning and Development Committee report. That's Councillor McAlpine.
Moved by myself and second by Councillor Howes that the Planning and Development Committee report, May 14th, 2024, be approved.
Thank you. Are there any questions to Councillor McAlpine? Seeing none, all those in favor to receive? I think what we're going to do then, before we go to 9.5, we have the delegation, the Dills have arrived, who want to speak. If you want to come to the podium, it's not really your fault that you're late. A couple of our delegations didn't show up. Want to just come to the front here? Yeah. No, it's okay. Just give us your name and your address.
Good evening, everybody. Council through the chair. Honorable Mayor David Bailey. My name is Donna Dill. My husband, Scott Dill. We are residents of Paris as of 7 years. We love living here. A concern has been brought to our attention. A notice came into our door. And my concern is regarding the proposed crosswalk on our street. It involves lights, sounds, and I feel it's a safety hazard. Councillor Steve Howes was very kind to alert me to the planning director. His name, excuse me for 1 second here, so I'm falling out of my notes. Greg, thank you, Greg Demers. I had a beautiful conversation with him. We both are, he's a first responder as well, and I'm 40 years registered nurse in active healthcare, critical care, recovery, emerge. So my first and foremost concerns are safety for the children and elderly that live in our community. My concern is the lights and sirens are also, the lights and sounds are intrusive to the residents that live in that vicinity. And I'm wondering if you would consider an alternative maintaining safety to consider ramps, not ramp speed bumps, and the zebra crossing without the sounds. We did visit the sites in Paducah and Brentwood, which is the similar type of crosswalk that is proposed for Grand River Street South. I crossed it. My husband filmed me. It's extremely annoying. It's very loud. And the beeps are incessant. They never go off. Working in healthcare for 40 years in telemetry units, we hear soft alarms and we hear very scary alarms when somebody's going to a cardiac arrhythmia. I have extreme anxiety with perpetual beeping. IV pumps, cardiac monitors, O2 sat monitors. Having that perpetual sound beeping in my front yard and through my side windows will not make it possible for me to live in that neighborhood anymore. It's a very selfish statement that I just said, but I also speak for my neighbors who will also, I'm sure, have the same similar concerns. Did I forget anything?
No, I think you covered it well. I think crosswalk's probably good in the area. We're just concerned about constant noise and light because we saw the sample that we were asked to go review, and it's really concerning for a neighborhood because that one's not in a neighborhood, right? It's actually mattered out of park? What's in a neighborhood?
Well,
It's
the
across the
crosswalk
park
that
and
we
across-
saw at Sympatica was going to a park, and it was also, the beginning section of it was at an intersection of a side road. This one is proposed in between my neighbor's two driveways, and it's very close to our home. The main problem. And I think the speed bumps will help slow traffic down. There's a report with CBC, which I read, 2018, that stated crosswalks can give pedestrians a false sense of security. So we live there. We know people drive 60 to 80 kilometers down our street. I almost got killed in my driveway weeding the garden when somebody did a turnaround in my driveway, did not see me crouch down, and missed me by 2 or less inches in my own driveway by doing a turnaround. People that are crossing at the crosswalk, pushing that button, thinking, okay, we're safe, we're good, even though they're supposed to stop and check, may not. Somebody going 80 kilometers an hour from the bridge up Grand River will take them out, or hit the curb, jump the curb. It's my concern if we have speed bumps, that will slow them down. And speed bumps are always there. They will always slow the traffic. An occasional light being flickered will not be a consistent. Therefore, consistency provides security and habitual patterns. That's my only concern. Thank you so much, and sorry for taking so long.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much for showing up. Late for the party, but you're here. And we're glad that you're here. Are there any questions to the delegation? Councillor House.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the delegation. You did connect with Greg Demers, our Director of Roads, last week, and I was just wondering if, not with a lot of detail, but I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit about how that conversation went. I tried to ask the same question earlier of the previous delegation, if they had contacted the staff that was on the notification. I didn't quite get the chance to finish that question, but since you're here and I appreciate the way you're delivering your message, can you just tell us a little bit about how that conversation with Greg went?
Yes, Councillor Steve House, thank you. I did speak with Greg Demers, and what he discussed with me was the level of crosswalk that would be proposed. And it involved the same principles of the crosswalk that's at Sympatica and Brentwood, which is arrows to alert people of a crosswalk impending with the zebra stripes, the lights, the sounds. So basically it's strobe lights that get depressed with a high pitch shrill whistle of a bird or a cuckoo, depending on which direction, if it's east or west. And the perpetual soft tone beeping, which is intermittent perpetual, so it's beep, 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 and that's constant. And it goes higher during the day to override the traffic noise, and it's supposed to be controlled by computer through, I believe, the city, to make it lower during the night. But there's reports of the Brantford Expositor, where a neighbor and several houses away from a similar crosswalk was disturbed by these perpetual sounds.
Quick follow-up, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely.
So just to summarize, staff were able to give you more details of what was proposed,
Yep.
but at the end of it, you weren't necessarily more comfortable, but you were given an example to go check out.
So when I first spoke with Greg Demers, I didn't know what he was referring to as far as the cross, because I hadn't visited it. And when he indicated all the safety features and the fact that there were engineers involved, and he was talking about Hamilton's safety, because we did talk about one-way streets and three-way stops, and he basically explained the reason why those options would not be considered, because they did their research, and I accredited him for his research and his knowledge base. So we had a very, very pleasant conversation, and we came away with an amicable resolution that, okay, this is what we're going to have as this crosswalk. I didn't have concerns at that point until I went to the site in Brantford to visit it, experience it, and cross it, and realized how loud it was and how intrusive it was. Then I became concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you for.
Thank you.
Which takes us to 9, I'm sorry. how are we gonna deal with the delegation? Receive for information?
Yeah, can we, I move that we move that we receive this for information and refer these comments to staff.
Seeking a seconder, Councillor Pierce. All those in favor? Do you have a question, Councillor Chambers?
And my assumption would be that staff would report back to council and at our operations committee, perhaps.
Okay, takes us to number 9.5, which is administration and operations. Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Howes, that the Admin and Operations Committee report of May 21st be approved, noting there's 8 recommendations.
Are there any questions to Councillor Pierce's report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Takes us to number 10, staff reports, 10.1. Rob, you're going to speak to that? Church Street, Scotland.
Through the mayor to council, I think this is a good news story. We've actually got a tender out where we got a lot of interest and very good pricing. So, you know, over the last 3 or 4 years, we haven't seen that very much. You know, 1 or 2 bids, very high pricing. So I think that that's good. I think that this is for that community is a good project. We're dealing with some traffic calming issues. We're dealing with access to the school, putting in good sidewalks, improving drainage, rebuilding a very busy road. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Can I just get an idea of other work that this GEDCO has done in the county? Anybody?
GEDCO's a local contractor that's well known to us, have done several projects. This project was not pre-qualified, so anybody could bid on it.
Right.
And we feel they have the experience to do this job.
Okay. Yeah, and if just a comment, if I could, Mr. Mayor, yes, it was very nice to see that number of bids, and it was very nice to see that number of bids, the majority of them very close in price, which is kind of interesting because sometimes we get them and they're way out of the ballpark. But no, that's good to see. Maybe it's a sign of things to come. Thank you.
Any other questions for Rob? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment. We get a lot of complaints about speeding on Church Street, especially with the school there. And at the public engagement meeting, which is alluded to in the report, there was a very good turnout, and it was good to see that a lot of people came out. When they came out, they spoke about the safety issue, right? You know, how can we slow the traffic down? So, how do you slow traffic down? Enforcement, education, and engineering. You don't get that engineering option; it doesn't come around that often. So, I was very pleased to see in the report that they are going to try and do what they can through the engineering part to calm the traffic. So, yeah, very glad to see that.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion? Councillor Coleman, and seconder. Councillor Garneau, all those in favor? Opposed and carried. Thank you. Which takes us to 10.2, which is the addendum. Does Adam want to speak to this?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple things very briefly. I've been kind of dropped into this the last month and kind of sorted through this as kind of a slow-moving, fast-moving project at this time. This leads us to the significant development of the employment lands in the 403 quadrant along Rest Acres Road. This is a process that, when I dug into the history, really goes back to about 2010-11 with the development of the original business park. So along the way, we've had to make these improvements, and we have an agreement with the Ministry of Transportation. We have had several delegations. I think pretty much everyone around the table has probably attended one at some point to acknowledge that there is a provincial component to this, but I think in a better balance, we need to get moving on permitting our employment lands to be developed. One thing that's come up to the map that was attached to this, I just wanted to highlight, this isn't a prioritization of anything. This is an internal map from the official plan that was identifying numbered lands for discussion purposes only. So I just wanted to highlight that. Happy to answer any questions along with my colleague, Mr. Walton.
I need a motion to get on the floor. Councillor Pierce and Councillor Oakley. Any questions? What year did you say this began?
Your Worship. Well, the first discussions on Bishopsgate, on the Bishopsgate interchange were 2011. The Brant Business Park is sort of the first couple developments in the business park required an agreement that preceded this more significant agreement, and the county's been working through the various Class EAs, the studies, the corridor studies, traffic impact studies since then, and yeah, long-standing.
So this gets us everything we need to move on.
Your Worship, the currently designated employment lands.
Perfect.
There'll be some additional discussions.
Are there any other questions for Adam? Councillor Chambers?
Just a comment, and Councillor Coleman will recall this, when our original business park was being developed, this took up a lot of oxygen, and there was a lot of discussions with our staff and the ministry on that Rest Acres Road interchange, and we had to be very, very persistent, and former employee David Johnson was very instrumental in working with the ministry and being persistent and finally resolving a lot of the issues that came up. So we need to be persistent and do the same kind of diligence in doing this, because that is a key component of our finances in the municipality, and we don't want to be hamstrung by the ministry squabble, and we need to be persistent. So I thank Adam for moving forward.
Any other questions for Adam before we call the vote? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Adam. Number 11, communications. We have a letter from Grand River Taxi. Not happy about things. You've read it. Maybe just a motion to receive and let staff take care of it. Anybody want to make a motion? Councillor Oakley? Oh, Councillor Miller?
Well, if Councillor Oakley will make it, I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, seconded. You want to speak to it, Councillor Miller?
No, I like the idea of referring to staff. The allegations are serious, and I think we need to take them serious.
Yeah, I think so too. Any other comments, Councillor Oakley?
Through the mayor, then I'll modify my motion to receive as information and refer to staff.
Perfect. You're still okay with that, Councillor Miller? Yep. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.2 is my resignation from the City Airport Board. I've sent them a letter, they know. I'm now going to ask for a replacement for myself on the board. Is there a volunteer? Councillor Garneau has shown interest. Seconder for Councillor Garneau, Councillor Coleman. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Garneau, for stepping up for that. Resolutions, proclamations. We have Councillor Kyle.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So whereas June is Seniors Month in the province of Ontario, and whereas age-friendly planning was adopted as a fundamental strategic action to ensure a high quality of life for all citizens, and whereas the County of Brant and community partners celebrate Seniors Month by launching the Healthy Aging Passport, offering free activities aimed at increasing social participation, promoting health and wellness, and highlighting new and existing programs and activities for older adults within the County of Brant. And whereas Saturday, June 1st, 2024 is Intergenerational Day, Wednesday, June 15th, 2024 is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and the month of June is Seniors Month in Ontario. Therefore, be it resolved that County of Brant Council hereby proclaims Saturday, June 1st, 2024 as Intergenerational Day and Wednesday, June 15th, 2024 as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day.
Everyone's clear? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And 12.2, Councillor Oakley.
Through the mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Howes, whereas it is desirable to have clearly defined rules for delegates to come and speak to council in a meaningful, constructive fashion, and whereas the temperature of political engagement has changed to be more vitriolic, and whereas the County of Brant lacks well-defined guidelines for productive public engagement through the delegation process, with shortcomings as loosely defined rules over time, the number of delegations permitted, the relevance of a delegation to a meeting, and multiple delegations from the same member of the public across multiple meetings without a meaningful change of the available information on the topic for council to debate. And whereas other municipalities have well-defined rules ensuring good governance and productive usage of staff and public time, then is directed at that the Clerk's Department of the County of Brant The Clerk's Department of the County of Brant conduct a review of the County of Brant's procedures as it relates to public delegations to ensure a healthy balance of enabling public engagement and ensuring a productive use of public meeting time.
Everyone's clear on that? Any comments? Councillor Chambers?
Yeah, I have a few comments. Actually, I find the resolution quite offensive. Just before I get to that, I do want to say that I think the Clerk's Department does an admirable job, and a professional job in screening and vetting and preparing people to make delegations, and they should be commended for that. I believe that in their own special ways, the chairman of our standing committees, Councillor Coleman, Pierce, McAlpine, and our Mayor Bailey, within their own way, have a way of dealing professionally and competently with delegations. A lot of people might think that more important places around the council chambers is this circle, the mayor's chair, but it's not. That podium is the most important space in the council chambers because it allows members of the public who we represent to come and speak directly to council. We should encourage that. We should thank them for coming. We should make it easy for them to come, and we should make it easy for them to say what they have to say. This resolution goes against that. It is making it more difficult. It is putting more regulations, more stipulations on how they come to present to the council. Citizens have a right to engage with their councillors. This is the only place that they can do that. And again, we should encourage that. And again, this resolution is proposing to put measures in place that discourage that. We shouldn't do that. The second thing, actually, I find it the most offensive, is the second whereas clause. Whereas the temperature of political engagement has changed to be more vitriolic. So what this is saying is why we're putting more restrictions on, because the people out there, our residents, are more vitriolic. Let's stop and think. A couple months ago, we passed the highest tax increase in the history of Brant County. A month and a half later, by a vote of the minority of council, passed an additional $250,000 be placed on the taxpayers after it was rejected by a majority of councillors. A couple weeks after that, we went to a couple public meetings and we said we were going to add an additional, they call it a rain tax. We don't call it that. And people were upset. And you were at the meetings, I was at the meetings. and people, and we actually made comment around this table how upset people were. Yes, people are upset out there. When we stare down a petition of 750 residents in a village, they may be upset. And they have a right to come and express that. Sometimes passion gets in the place of good productivity, and we saw a little bit of that tonight, but that's not to say that the issue was important to the people that were making it. And again, the mayor in his way, I think, responded appropriately. We have regulations that are based on common courtesy and respect. And as long as I've been around this horseshoe, which has been a long time, people have made delegations, and nobody's ever dove over there and punched somebody in the face. It's respected, and we need to encourage that. As far as I'm concerned, we don't have enough people coming expressing their views to this council. It's being replaced by Facebook. People gibber on Facebook rather than coming here, and we need to encourage that. So I hope this resolution does not pass, because it sends a terrible message to the people that have every right to come and express their views to their council members at that podium, which is probably the most important place in the council chambers. Mr. Mayor, I recognize that we have to have rules in place. I'm big on procedural bylaws, everyone knows. But in this case, if you make it too difficult for people to come to speak to councilors, you are working against what we are here for. That is why I find this resolution very offensive, and I won't support it. I'm going to be curious to see who does support it, and I hope nobody supports it.
Councillor Garneau, you're first, and then Councillor Howes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank Councillor Chambers for opening the debate on this, because perhaps he said what I was feeling in a more eloquent way. When we stood for office, it's my perspective that, you know, we would hear from folks who brought all manner of views to us. And it takes a lot of courage to stand up here. On more than one occasion, we've watched residents admit that they were nervous to do this. I think that they'll be even less inclined to come and see us. As Councillor Chambers notes, the use of the word vitriolic, it suggests malice. I don't believe that anyone who has come to us with something that they felt passionate about was doing so in a malicious way. It was something they felt strongly about, and perhaps their views didn't align with others, but it was something that they brought forward with their own integrity. Notwithstanding a few things where we've gotten heated and there are mechanisms in place, I believe the folks that have been here were doing so intending to be constructive. As has been noted, I do believe we already have mechanisms in place for this to manage the debate. But I also want to reflect, I studied history in school, and often when rules are brought in response to a particular situation, they often evolve beyond the situation they were initially intended to manage, and that's where the misuse comes in. I would be concerned that if this did go forward, it would put our staff in a position that steps beyond what would normally be the impartial role of the clerk's office to participate or to facilitate the process. So with that in mind, I cannot support it, and I am also mindful of our clerk's time, recognizing that one of our deputies has moved on to a new role, and there's, as I understand it, 2 vacancies in that department at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. And I agreed to second this motion. And I share in Councillor Chambers' faith in our clerk's department. And I am a big proponent of encouraging people to come speak at that podium. And I often will say to people, anyone in the County of Brant can come stand there and speak for 10 minutes on any subject. You're encouraged to do so. At the same time, I believe that there may be an opportunity to improve this process. And when I look at the last sentence of this resolution,
it does not presuppose any conclusions. It's asking for the clerk's department to conduct a review. And I think that still creates an opportunity to make it a better possible way for us to have engagement with the public through the delegation process. Thank you.
Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I will not support this motion either. 25 years ago or so, long before I was on council, I was upset once with the way things were handling in the fire department. So I come as a delegation. I got my eyes opened up, but it gave me the right to speak. And if I didn't, and I believe we were successful in what turned out. But so I think it's the right to the people that want to come and speak. And I think the clerk department has got enough on their plate as it is right now. But the other thing is, Councilor Chambers mentioned it, is that it's the duty of the chairman, the mayor, chairman of the committees to control the meeting. And if you find that the delegations are going on the same part over and over and over again, you want new information. We've seen that in planning 100 times. Bring us new information. We've got no problem coming as a delegation, but we want new information. So I can't support this. I think it's, Robert used the right words, but I was upset when I first seen it here a few weeks ago, and I will not support it.
Any other comments? I feel very confident being the chair that I can handle pretty much anything. When we give people opportunities to speak, the lady who was just here, she was this upset and we threw her out. I always think that when we say come to the council meeting, I always think they're cooled down by then or will behave better than they did when we were throwing them out of the building. And tonight you see that sometimes they don't cool down, they don't calm down. But I mean, it's still, Councillor Pierce?
Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Mayor. I'll just.
I'm just saying that I feel confident that I can handle things. We've only had this is 6 years. We've only had maybe 3 things, 4 things maybe go loud and kind of crazy in 6 years, and one of them was related to me. So I'm suggesting that the clerks are doing a good job, and I think as long as you've got a mayor that's prepared to tell it the way it is, and when people start telling things that aren't true and attacking councillors, that I call them on it, because I mean no one should be able to come in here and tell lies, no matter who they are or how loud they say it. And they were about to tonight, and that's not true. Nothing that was said there was true. So you have to have the confidence in the chair, and I'm not afraid to call it out. So I understand why Lucas has done this. I think it's admirable that he has, and it would cut out a lot of nonsense. But people are allowed to bring nonsense here. So I don't think I can support it either, Councillor Oakley. Councillor Pierce.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and I've just kind of listened to what's gone around here, and you kind of nailed it there. In my time on council, I can remember maybe 4 or 5 times myself in all the years I've been here that, somebody has gone above and beyond there, and whomever was chair at the time, 7 straight, reeled them in, that type of thing. I guess it's a double-edged sword. We want people to come here. Absolutely. This is their platform to say what they want to say, and we want them to be passionate about it. And we don't want anything to be in the way of that passion coming and speaking from their heart, because that's what we want to hear. We don't want to hear a made-up story. We want to hear exactly what they're thinking about anything that affects them in our community, right? And then to your point, and to Councillor Chambers' point, if it does get out of hand, that's why we have a chair of a meeting to bring it in. I don't think it's fair to the clerk's department to have them potentially say no to somebody, you can't come in, and then all of a sudden they would take the heat from that person and say, well, what do you mean I can't come in? Why can't I come in? Everybody else can come in. So again, I appreciate, I think, where this was trying to go, but I think there's enough support in this room, and I'm not quite sure the word I want to use here, but we can control things around this horseshoe, whomever is in that chair. So I'm quite confident that anybody around this horseshoe sitting in that chair is able to control whatever situations may come. So I can't support it either.
Councillor Garno?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to ask for a recorded vote, please.
Okay. Councillor Miller, have anything to say?
I'll just add that I agree with Councilor Pierce. I mean, it was you, I think, that said it. I think Lucas saw an issue. He's trying to make it better, but yeah, I've been around a few terms, and it's never gotten so bad that the chairperson couldn't handle it. So I think we're okay, but again, I appreciate Lucas's attention.
Any other comments? Or they've called for a recorded vote.
Thank you, Your Worship. As Councillor Miller is online, I am not going to ask for people to stand. Instead, I will call out one at a time. Councillor Kyle.
No.
Councillor McAlpine.
No.
Councillor Oakley.
Yes.
Councillor Howes.
I've been persuaded, no.
Councillor Pierce.
No.
Councillor Miller.
No.
Councillor Chambers.
No.
Councillor Coleman.
No.
Councillor Garneau.
No.
Mayor Bailey.
No.
E-scribe will take a moment, but that motion was defeated 9-1.
Which takes us to number 13 on the agenda, which is other business. Does anyone have anything I didn't ask in the beginning? No. Okay, we're going to ask Councillor Oakley to take us in camera.
Alrighty, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Coleman that the County Brant Council convene in camera to discuss a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to negotiations, paramedic services, headquarter lease and service agreement, personal matters about an identifiable individual, citizen's appointment to the Accessibility Advisory Committee, and a proposed or pending acquisition of land, easements for 2 Scott Avenue and 325 Grand River Street North.
All those in favor? Okay. Thank you. Now we're going to reconvene in open session. We are going to ratify everything we did in camera, which is 14.6. Who has the first one? Councillor Oakley.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McAlpine that the Chief Administrative Officer be authorized to enter into a 20-year build-to-suit lease with Grandbridge Energy for the administrative office facilities at 150 Savannah Oaks Drive at an estimated annual cost of $633,361, subject to adjustment for actual capital and operating expenses under the terms and conditions of the draft lease document, subject to finalization and consultation between County of Brant and Grandbridge Energy officials. And that the Chief Administrative Officer be authorized to enter into a 20-year build-to-suit lease with Grandbridge Energy Solutions for garage facilities at 150 Savannah Oaks Drive at an estimated annual cost of $1,425,285, subject to adjustment for actual capital and operating expenses under the terms and conditions of the draft lease agreement to be finalized in consultation between the County of Brant and Grandbridge Energy officials.
All those in favor? Opposed and carried. Who has the second one? Councillor McAlpine?
That the General Manager, Emergency and Protective Service be authorized to enter into a 10-year service agreement with the Corporation City of Brantford for the fire dispatch service under the terms and conditions of the draft service agreement document, subject to the finalization and consultation between the County of Brant and the City of Brantford officials.
Everyone's clear? All those in favor? Opposed and carried. And who is the next one? Councillor Kyle?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor McAlpine, that council appoint Martin Van Berkel and Deborah Yancey to the Accessibility Advisory Committee for the remainder of the 2022 to 2024 term.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And Councillor, is there one more?
Yep.
Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Chambers, that the council approve the acquisition of land for road widening and easement rights of way at 2 Scott Avenue and 326 Grand River Street North.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Takes us to number 15 on our agenda, which is our bylaws. And Councillor Chambers, you have those?
It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Pierce that the bylaws 40-20 to 47-24, with the exception of 44 whatever it is, 45, be read a first time.
All those in favor of the first reading of the bylaws? Second reading of the bylaws, please, Councillor Chambers.
It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Pierce that bylaws 40-24 to 47-24, with the exception of 45, be read a second time and all preambles and clauses be adopted.
Are there any questions to the second reading of the bylaws? Councillor Chambers, do you have any questions? No? All those, okay. All those in favor of the second reading? Third reading, please, Councillor Chambers.
And that the same bylaws be read a third time, passed, signed, and executed.
All those in favor of the third reading of the same bylaws? All those in favor? Thank you. Okay. That takes us to the end of the meeting. Is there anything more for the betterment of the County of Brant? Noting that this has been a very exciting meeting, and we got a lot of work done, and we got a lot of things settled. Our next meeting is June the 11th, and I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Coleman, we stand adjourned. Thank you.